The PBS programming leaders here today are very focused on making PBS a celebrated home for indies and developing a comprehensive strategy to build long-lasting audiences for independent film and public broadcasting. But why focus on this particular relationship with public TV in this particular segment of independent producers on the two flagship indie series? Because the unique and powerful chemistry between these two partners who answer a call to the public is unmatched in and year-out commitment to the public good, vital democratic discourse, and most important, correcting the gross imbalances of diverse communities on television. Nowhere else can the measures of success actually be about the public and not their pocketbook, and nowhere else do partners come to this calling by vocation.
And I think at a time in which we're living in our digitally curated realities and echo chambers of affirmation, I think the role of independent film is to move the conversation beyond that, to broaden the scope of the conversation and to conclude the voices that are too far often not at the table. I think beyond that, it's really, we're living in times in which there's a severe need for narrative correction and narrative complication. You know, I think about Nancy Cates' film Brother Outsider. What does it mean to engage in conversations about civil rights when you don't have Bayard Rustin at the table? You know, what does it mean to have conversations about justice-like issues in Ferguson when we don't understand the forces that create those communities? And so for me, it's really a significant role that you play. I know that as an environmental activist, films like A Village Called Versailles, films like The Garden and such give us opportunities not just to look back and learn the lessons of the past, but also aspire us to look forward, to surface the issues that are on the near horizon, and to mobilize people in response to facing some of the challenges that confront us as a nation.
If public television is about the public and about impact, this is the ecosystem that really drives impact. It's not just what's on the air, it's what people do with it, how it affects publics. And I think that's a big thing. It's not Downton Abbey, which is a great show. I watch it. I love it. But it's about how public television is more than regular television. It is really concerned with impact. And that's come up in quite a few people's statements. It's about an access point that is common on a certain day of the week where everyone is engaged in the same issue. It is the beginning point of impact when that happens. This is vital. Vital to what independent media as well as what documentary filmmaking is really all about. It's not just about the show. It's about the long ripple of that show. And we all know that is important. That is what makes it so vital in society.
Hi, I'm Nicole Newman, and I'm an independent producer, and I've been fortunate enough to have 2 films on Independent Lens, The Revolutionary Optimist and Sentenced Home. And Sentenced Home, I wanted to speak about it after I heard what Orlando said, because I feel like it's a really good example of how elevating these kind of untold stories into the national conversation really makes a difference on the ground in a massive way. Sentenced Home followed 3 young Americans who had been, they brought to the United States as refugees when they were teenagers and had been convicted of gang-related crimes when they were teenagers. And then following 9/11, when John Ashcroft forced Cambodia to accept repatriation of deportees, there was suddenly a backlog of 1,500 young men who were going to be deported back to a land they didn't know. And over the course of the 3.5 years that we made the film, first on our credit cards and then with the support of ITVS, 2 of these men went back to Cambodia, and we followed them as they struggled to adjust to that country. And one, because his story was being told, completely turned his life around and became a community activist, and that was the storyline that we profiled in the documentary. His name is Manny Uch, and Manny is still a community activist. And he began to work in partnership with community cinema, and that wonderful ecosystem that ITVS has created with national organizations that were young Southeast Asian activists who wanted to try to have a voice in the immigration reform debate. And they used the film to get on Capitol Hill and have their story heard. And ultimately, the film itself was shown to a pardon board when the activists convinced Manny that he would really do something if he could go and get a governor's pardon for his crime. And his community activism and his involvement in the film tipped him over into a governor's pardon. And even though he's still technically deportable, the hope is he won't get deported because of that pardon. So this is the kind of chain that, a reaction that is set into motion by telling these stories. And it was because of having the high profile of a national broadcast that people started paying attention to that story and that all of this happened. So I think it's really important, and thank you for hearing us.